Good morning. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Lifescape Premiere. My name is Dana Bosselman, and this is the Healthy Kitchen's Healthy Lives cooking class. I'm happy to have everyone joining me today for a new dish that we're going to make together. And I am just so excited to be a part of everything that's going on here in the community of Lifescape and offer this sort of break on the clinical side and be with everyone. So with that being said, today we're going to be making a dip. It's a cashew roasted red bell pepper dip, and it's really appropriate because today, October 1st, marks the beginning of the full moon. So for those of you who like to go outside in the evening and look at that and contemplate, I encourage you to go ahead and do that. And the moon will be full for 3 days, I've been told, so you have a little bit of opportunity. And then an unusual thing is happening in October. We're getting a second full moon right on Halloween, and that's going to be a blue moon. So to me, that's a really yin-yang sort of situation and a chance to examine yourself and create some balance and harmony. And part of the way we do that is by the food that we eat and how we nourish ourselves and those around us. So with that being said, let's go ahead and put this together. I want to talk about a feature ingredient in the recipe, and I'll do that as I get to it. Probably some of you know where I'm going with this, but take a moment to gather your thoughts and your ingredients if you're cooking along. And I'm going to be using a high-speed food processor and instead of a blender, just because I find it easier than trying to scrape all of the ingredients out of the bottom of the blender. So if you have that on hand, maybe switch it out and do it that way. Otherwise, a blender will work just fine if you want to go that way. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is add the cashews. These are just raw organic cashews, unsalted, unroasted. And I always recommend using raw nuts because they haven't been altered by heat. The oil in the nuts is really sensitive to temperature, and in big food manufacturing facilities, they're putting nuts through quickly at a high heat, and it really damages those oils. So do look for the raw nuts, and as we get away from the taste of the salt, I think we start getting the taste of the nuts, so you can have to really get the true nutritional value. And this is more than 1 cup. This is 2 cups. Because if I'm making a batch of something, I always recommend, why not make a little bit more? Sometimes you can just freeze it. Other times you can just share it with other people. So here we go. I'm making a bit of noise as I put this in here. And then this is like the easiest dish in the universe. We just add everything to it without barely any effort. And then after that, we add some water. So this is just some filtered water I'm pouring in. And I'm just going to add a smidge, and then I can go ahead and add more over time if it needs to be a little thinner. So we'll try that. And then the next thing we want to add in is the roasted red bell peppers. And some of you will want to roast your own from scratch, and you can certainly do that by coating them with a bit of oil. I recommend for roasting maybe avocado oil instead of olive oil because it can take that higher temperature, or even grapeseed oil, and then roasting them until the skins get blistery. But for those of you who don't want to go through all those steps, it's fine. You can buy the roasted red bell peppers in the store. This is the one that I'm using, and it works just as well, and it's certainly a lot faster. So just drain the red bell peppers, and I'm just adding them into the food processor. I don't even need to cut them into pieces, because obviously the food processor will do that for me. So just putting them all together. Okay. So at this point, we're starting to build our, sort of looks like a parfait, and getting the things that we love in there. And then the next thing you can do is, and you could actually, if you're roasting your own bell peppers, you could even change to a yellow or an orange, or you could do a rainbow mixture too. So that's an option if you like. So then the next thing I want you to do is, or I'm going to do, is add some olive oil. And this is just an organic extra virgin cold pressed. And you can use the extra virgin cold pressed when you are not heating it. So this is a perfect application for this oil, or for a dipping sauce, or for a finishing sauce, or salad dressing, that kind of thing. So this is going in next, and don't be shy with the oils. A lot of people are realizing the oils are what helps with satiety and helps keep us full and satisfied longer than without, and it helps you also absorb those fat-soluble nutrients in the foods. So don't be too light with that. Go ahead and use the full a quarter cup or more. And then the next piece is lemon. So I'm using my citrus squeeze, and I've cut a lemon in half, easy enough, and putting it through the squeeze. And this is something I always keep a little extra lemon on hand, because once you make it, give it a taste, and sometimes it does need a little bit more lemon than the recipe calls for. So as you know, recipes are just suggestions. They're just templates, and they give us a sense of how to start, and then the rest is sort of up to you to decide, what are your taste buds? How do you like it? What does it need? Does it need a little more salt? So speaking of that, I'm going to be adding, it's called Herbamare on the ingredient list. They've changed the packaging a little bit, and now as you can't see the name as well, it's really tiny up here, but this is Herbamare, and it's just a blend of sea salt, celery, leeks, all of those aromatic, much more than that is in here. And I love using this blend. It's my go-to. So if you don't have it, you can purchase it online on Amazon, or you can go into Sprouts, or probably any other grocery store and find this in there. So with that being said, I'm going to sprinkle some of this in. And again, you can start with a small amount and then adjust to taste as you go. Okay, and then the next thing we're going to do is put in the garlic. And raw garlic is one of the most amazing foods, and I do encourage you to get it, in the whole full form, and not be shy of using it that way. This really helps if you use one of these garlic rolls, and if you haven't used one, I really recommend it. It makes it so much better. And all you do is just stick the clove right into the middle of the roll, and then you can't see it as well, but if you just gently press down on it, you can kind of hear it crunching. And then when I take it out, look at the skin just falls off of here. I don't even need to use a knife. So I've done that with a few other cloves, and I'm going to pop those in whole, no chopping involved, and they're ready to go. Raw garlic is a prebiotic food, so that means it's fuel or food for your bacteria, as well as providing other benefits, like to help with detoxification in the liver, because it's a sulfur-rich item. And then also garlic, if you do four cloves of garlic a day, which really wouldn't be that hard to do if you had it 2 different times, there's some research that says it can help lower blood pressure and also decrease the LDL, or the bad cholesterol levels. So that's a good reason to go for the fresh. I don't know if that's true for the pre-chopped or stored. And then it's also rich in antioxidants, so don't forget the garlic. It adds an important element to the whole dish. And I always tell you too, if it's older garlic, like the skin is really hard and crunchy, then it may not be as potent anymore and have as much flavor. So you may want to add even a second or third clove. If it's really fresh garlic and the skin just falls off easily, that means it's going to be more potent and stronger. So think about that as you're adjusting. Okay, so now we're getting to the super exciting secret ingredient. This is nutritional yeast. And nutritional yeast is really much more well-known, I think, in the vegan community, because it's rich in B12, which is one of the B vitamins that are really almost impossible to get from plant foods. And so this is a really neat product. It's called Saccharomyces cerevisiae, if you want to go into the Latin name. And it's the same yeast that's used to brew beer and to make bread. The difference is that those are live cultures, and once you get it in this form, this dried form, it's been processed, and it's not a living yeast. So you couldn't use this as a substitute to make your own bread. It wouldn't work. But the good news is you can use this and if you are on a Candida albicans cleanse, which is a yeast overgrowth, you can still use this and it won't contribute because it's been manufactured differently. So we want to add to this recipe, it calls for 2 tablespoons and I've doubled it. So I'm going to double the tablespoons and I'm just dropping them in right now. I'll show you how this all looks here in just a minute. And this is a really, if you haven't had this before, it's really a unique flavor. It smells kind of salty and cheesy, and it can be used in so many different ways. You can sprinkle it over cooked vegetables. You can add it on top of a salad. It's kind of what we call umami. It's like the 5th taste that isn't really a true taste bud, but when you eat something that just really, you know, you're like, wow, this is so good. It's usually the umami that gets you, and this is that. So that's why I call it kind of a secret ingredient. It also can be used like in the vegan world or plant-based world to make like a cheese sauce or cheesy sauce, or just as a thickener for something, like a soup. So lots of applications for it, and it's easily found. I bought this one from Sprouts. You guys know I love that store. And you can get it in bulk, or of course order it online, whatever works for you. Okay, so a couple other things about the yeast is there's fortified and unfortified. It's okay if you don't know which one you have or you're thinking about it, but the fortified just means that they've added a few more synthetic vitamins on top of what's naturally occurring in there. So normally nutritional yeast has, like I said, B12, but it's B1, B2, B3, thiamine, riboflavin, niacin, and B6. So those are all super valuable, especially for people on a plant-based diet. And it has some trace minerals in it, a little bit of protein. The trace minerals are zinc and selenium and manganese. And those are really critical because they are important cofactors in gene regulation, in metabolism and growth and immunity. So you can see how the small elements that are composed of this nutritional yeast make such a big difference over time. And as I mentioned, it does have a protein. It's actually a complete protein, so it's got all 9 essential amino acids at the same time. 1 tablespoon is 2 grams of protein. So we've got 4 grams of protein in here, plus the nuts, which are protein. So this is a nice spread once it's done that you can dip veggies into. You can spread it on hummus, or you can spread it like hummus onto a tortilla. We've been using a lot of coconut flour tortillas and cassava root flour tortillas, and layering it with all kinds of shredded veg and avocado, making a great wrap. So there's those options too. All right, so let's see. I want to show you before we blend. This is what we've got going on here, and I'm going to add a little more oil because I think it's a little dry with the yeast in there. Okay. And then I'm going to put this together, and it's going to get loud for a second. And this is the best part of the whole experience, is seeing it come together so beautifully. All right, so then pulling that aside, I'll show you that we've got a tipsy-turvy lid. I don't know if you can see how the color of that is and the texture. So it's kind of chunky, and that may be completely fine if you want your dip chunky, kind of like a pico de gallo salsa. And then you can use a spatula and sift and sort a little bit, getting the ingredients from the top that didn't mix all the way. And then you may want to add a little bit more of something. So I have a little testing spoon here, and I'm just going to take a quick taste test of this. I like it a little chunky. Actually, it's kind of nice. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little more lemon because I think it needs a little more kick. And like I said, keep that extra lemon half around because you may find that it's needed. And also it'll give it a little more liquid, so it'll thin it out just a smidge, which is fine. So I'm squeezing the second half in here. And I'm also going to add just a smidge more of the herbamare. Again, this is to taste, so experiment and play. As I always say, you know, bring joy into your kitchen and into your life, and the food will reflect that. All right, here we go again. Hold on. All right, voila. It looks like we have achieved a beautiful consistency. So there you go. And then you can prepare it in advance and then scoop it into a container and chill it. And this will be good for about 7 days in the refrigerator. And like I said, you can use it in a variety of different ways. You can even add it into a vegetable mixture as kind of like a peanut sauce, if you will, like a tahini, and add a little more depth and protein and flavor to your vegetables. Okay, so there's more in here, but this gives you an idea of where you're headed. And then I recommend dipping all kinds of different vegetables in here. There's baby rainbow carrots, there's sugar snap peas, you can do jicama slices, of course you can do broccoli and cauliflower, you can slightly steam some asparagus and dip that in there. And then for those of you that want a little bit of crunch, you can always do the brand Mary's Gone crackers. For example, that's a mixture of whole grains like brown rice and flax seeds and chia seeds, and they're all compressed together into a cracker. So those are nice to have on occasion because we do need a little crunch and munch in our lives. So any of those would be fantastic, and or using this as a spread, or maybe even adding it as kind of like a sauce if you're cooking something that you want some pizzazz to, or just even daubling it on top of like some chicken would be a nice thing to do as well. So with that being said, you can see how quick and easy this is, and delicious, a nice addition, something that you hadn't always thought of in your repertoire. And if you like this recipe, you can always comment on the Brilliant Health Community page. If you want to share it, go ahead and do that. And know that you can go into the Lifescape Nutrition Library, recipe library, and look at all the other recipes that we've made over the past and share those as well. And finally, if any of you would like to come in for a consultation, you're always welcome to do that. And please know that non-Lifescape members can come and work with me on a nutrition consultation. They don't have to be a Lifescape member. They can just come and see me directly. So there's options for people who are interested in expanding their repertoire and looking at their health from a new lens, and see how I can be of benefit. So with that said, happy first day of October and new moon, and I wish everyone a fantastic rest of your day, and I look forward to working with you, seeing you again at the next Healthy Kitchens Live. Until then, be well.